then discovers that, I'm sorry, if one brings an asham to Lo and then discovers he has not sinned, if he has not yet been slaughtered, it may go forth and graze with the flocks. These are words of Reb Meir. The sages, however, say it must grave until it develops the blemish, then it is sold and proceeds deposited for a voluntary offering. If Eliezer says it is sacrificed for it, if it is not brought for the sin, it may be brought for another sin. If after it is slaughtered, it becomes known to him, the blood must be spilled and the meat must be moved to the place of burning. If the blood has already been thrown, the meat may be eaten. The Yossi says even if the blood is still in a vessel, it may be thrown and the meat may be eaten. Nashim Vadai is unlike this. If it has not yet been slaughtered, it may go forth and graze with the flock. If it has not already been slaughtered, it must be buried. If the blood had been thrown, the meat must be moved to the place of burning. An ox, which is to be stoned, is unlike this. If it had not yet been stoned, it may go forth and graze with the herd. If it had already been stoned, the bristle will derive benefit from it. A calf that is to be decapitated is unlike this. If it has not been decapitated, it may go forth and graze with the herd. After the calf that has been decapitated, it must be buried at its site. For it originally came to atone for a doubtful sin. Once it has atoned for its doubt, its purpose has been fulfilled. From Eliezer says a person may donate an asham to on any day or time that he wishes, and this is called the asham of the pious. It was said concerning Ben Baba Buti that he would donate an asham to every day, except one day after Yom Kippur. He said, by this temple, they were they to permit me, I would bring it. But they tell me, wait until you come into a doubt. For the comments say, we may not bring an asham to except for something which, if intentional, is a penalty of karas, and if unintentional, is liable to a katas.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So if somebody is chayev to bring a chatas or an asham vadai, something where we know what chait he did and they know what korban he has to bring. But now Yom Kippur has come and gone, and he hasn't yet brought his korban. Okay, that doesn't. So Yom Kippur doesn't help him in that respect. I mean, it atones for all of his other sins, but he still has the chiyuv to come and bring the chatas. Okay, however, we're in the subject of the asham taloi, the suspensive offering that's brought because of a doubt. Now, if he passes through a Yom Kippur, then Yom Kippur already is mechaper, and he doesn't need to bring a korban. So if he's in, let's say he's in Yom Kippur, and he suddenly arises a doubt, like he's not sure if he he has a very good case for Yom Kippur. He's sitting and at home, and he wakes up in the morning on Yom Kippur, and he goes and has his habitual glass of water in the morning, and on his first swallow, he thinks, oh my gosh, it's Yom Kippur, and he thinks, did I drink a revius? Did I drink, or I'm not sure if they revius. It's not. I think revius is still a measure of liquid on Yom Kippur. He says, I'm not sure if I had a shiur or not. He said, I know I drank, but I don't know if I drank enough of a shiur to be chayav chatas for that. And then now, under normal circumstances, he would have to bring an asham taloi, because that was avon kares, and he did b'shogeg, and now he'd have to bring an asham taloi. But Yom Kippur itself is mechaper. So now, after Yom Kippur, he does not have to bring a korban for that. Okay. Now, so even if it's happened like right at the end of the day, just before, I'm not sure like about Ben Hashmashos, but certainly just before sunset. If the thing happened even just before sunset, he's pater shekol hayom mechaper, because any moment of Yom Kippur is mechaper for something like that. Right. Now, here is a woman who has a doubtful chatas of. She had a miscarriage, and she's not sure if it was actually a miscarriage or if it was just some weird kind of discharge. So she has a safek if she has to bring a chatas or not. And we saw in this situation you can bring a chatas of b'safek. Okay, but now comes Yom Kippurim. And before she brought the korban, does she still have to bring this korban off? And the Mishnah tells us, yes, chayeves lahavi achar Yom Kippurim, because this is not something that needs a kapara. And she doesn't need it's not a chait that she did. Because but what this does do is that if a woman has not yet brought her korban yoledis, then she's not allowed to eat from kodshim until she brings her korbanos. So this over here, she still has to bring this korban. It's not on chait, so it's not a chait that Yom Kippur is mechaper on. It's just something that she needs in order to allow her to eat kodshim again. So she still has to bring this korban misafek. So if somebody brought a chatas off from a safek and then the kohen has already done melika on it, it's already and he's already killed the bird, and now somebody comes and says, no, we've examined that thing that you aborted, and it's nothing. It's not, that wasn't a birth. So at that point we say, okay, there's nothing we can do with this bird. We couldn't eat it anyway, and now it needs to be buried. Vav. So now here's a guy who needs to bring an asham. Now an asham has an interesting din that is different from other korbanos, is that the Torah actually stipulates a price that he has to spend on the animal. First of all, it has to be a ram. It's got to be 2 years old, and it's also got to be worth 2 selah, which is the shekel of the Torah. Okay, so now here's a guy who's got the chiyuv of bringing an asham, and he says, okay, here's my money, and he sets aside two silver shekels in order to bring his asham, and he goes to the animal market and finds a bargain on rams, and he brings home 2 rams for his 2 shekels. Okay, but you got a problem, is that the ram that you bring itself, you can only bring 1 ram, and that ram itself has to be worth 2 shekels. Not good enough that you went and spent 2 shekels on korban grade animals. The ram itself has to be worth 2 shekels. Now, it's possible that he bought them when they were younger and it got stronger and bigger, and therefore its market value went up. And that's the case that our Mishnah starts to deal with over here. So let's say he really did buy it at a discount price and the real market price is 2 sellers, or it went up in value since he bought it. One way or another, this ram is now priced at 2 seller. Okay, achla, that's wonderful. Yikrav le'ashama, and that can be brought for his asham. V'asheni yireh ad she'istayv, and the second one, let it graze until it develops a blemish. V'yimacher v'yiplu damav l'nedava, and the money then goes into the nedava chest. Okay. Lakach b'hen shnei elim l'chulin. Now, what happens if he took this 2 seller that he'd set aside for his asham, and he bought 2 rams and illicitly and whatever, he made a mistake and he designated them as chulin, put them in the flock. So now that money was for kodshim. Now he's got a din of me'ilah, and so he's going. So not only does he had an asham that he had to bring already, and now he's got another asham he's got to bring, which is an asham me'ilos. Right. Plus, of course, he's going to have to give the extra 5th.
Right.
Okay, so he's going to have to pay them back and bring the extra 5th. So now how's this going to work out? All right. Echad yafe shtei selaim ve'echad yafe asara zuz. So one of them is worth 2 selah, and one of them is worth 10 zuz. Now a selah is 4 zuz, right? So okay, so if a selah is 4 zuz, then what you've got over here is, so 2 selah is 8 zuz, and the second one is actually worth more than the first one. Okay, so we're just doing the math over here. Hayafe shtei selayim. So the one that was worth 2 selah, he must take that from chulin and bring that as his asham for sin number 1 that he needed to bring an asham for. Okay, yikrav l'ashamo. Hasheni le'me'ilah. So, and the second one he's got to bring as his me'ilah, because he's got to add in an extra 5th. So that extra fifth is taken care of by the fact that it's worth 10 seller rather than 8. Okay, so a fifth of 10 is 2, and that, you take off 2 from 10, and you got your 8 original. So that works out fine. Echad asham ve'echad lecholim. If he takes one as an asham and the other one he set aside for cholim, he said, oh well, this ram over here is itself worth 2 seller, so I'll just use the other one for my flock, and he takes it and he shares it and does whatever. Now he's done a me'ilah on the second one, because even though he was the first one was good enough to use as his asham, the second one still was brought from kodshim funds, and you can't take kodshim funds and use them for chulin. So again, he's got a me'ilah over there. So now, so looking again in the case, im hayashal asham yafe shtei selaim. So the one that is the asham is worth 2 sellers. That's fine. Yikrav l'ashamo. That's 100% what he intended. Vasheni leme'ilaso. And the second one must be can be brought as his asham and me'ilah, because of the fact that he has to bring a korban me'ilah for having abused the funds. V'yavi ima sela v'chumsha, and he has to bring along with it extra money to pay back for the fact that he did me'ilah with this very self-same animal. Okay, are we good?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. All right. Gimel Aleph.
If they said to him, you are forbidden fat, and he brings a katos, I'm sorry. If they said to him, you ate forbidden fat, he brings a katos. And a witness says he ate, and another witness says he did not eat, or if a woman says he ate, and another woman says he did not eat, he must bring an achim tulai. If a witness says he ate, and he says I did not eat, he's exempt. If 2 say he ate, and he says I did not eat, Rabbi Meir declares him liable. Says Rabbi Meir, if 2 can bring him to the more severe death penalty, can they not bring him to the lighter penalty of an offering? They said to him, what if he would want to be, what if he wanted to say that I was an intentional transgressor? If he ate 2 portions of the caleb and 1 lapse of awareness, he is liable to only 1 katos. But if he ate caleb, blood, leftover offerings, and pigol, and one lapse of awareness, he is liable for each one. In this, many kinds are more stringent than 1 kind. But in the following, 1 kind is more stringent than many kinds. If he ate half an olive's bulk and ate again half an olive's bulk, if they were of 1 kind, he is liable. If of 2 kinds, he is exempt. And how much time may it take for him to eat them? As if he would eat them as parched grains of corn. These are the words of Rameir. But the comments say until it takes more than from the beginning to the end that it would take to eat paras. If he ate Tamei foodstuffs or drank Tamei beverage, if he drank a revis of wine and entered the temple and tarried in their consumption for as long as it takes to eat a paras, he is liable. Rabbi Eliezer says if he thank you. If he interrupted or he diluted it with the least bit of water, he is exempt. Okay. That's it.
That's it, yes.
Why don't you go sit on the floor? Go ahead, good boy. They like this one corner of my desk. I can't get them to stop. In one corner, they have to sit in. They take over my keyboard and everything. Don't cry. I fed you already. Okay. We keep no less than 6 inspected lambs in the chamber of the lambs, sufficient for the Sabbath and for the 2 festivals of Rosh Hashanah. And we may add any number. We take no less than 2 trumpets, and we may add any number. We would take no less than 9 harps, and we may add any number, and that there is really only 1 cymbal. We have no fewer than 12 Levites standing on the platform, and we may add any number. A minor may not enter the temple court for the service, except when the Levites are standing on song, and they would not join in the song with lyre and harp, but by mouth, in order to add harmony to the melody. Eliezer ben Yaakov says that they do not count the number, do not stand on the platform, but they would stand on the ground with their heads between the legs of the Levites, and they were called the Levites tormentors. This is to the law of Arachin an element of leniency, as well as an element of stringency, and there is to the law of the ancestral field an element of leniency as well as an element of stringency. There is to the law of Muad gold that killed a slave an element of leniency, as well as an element of leniency, and they are to be to the laws of the violator, the seducer, the defamer, elements of leniency as well as elements of stringency. There is to the law of Arachin an element of leniency as well as an element of stringency. How so? Whether he vowed the erech of the handsomest in Israel or the ugliest in Israel, he gives 50 selim. But if he said, I take upon myself to give his worth, he must give his worth.
Okay, that's it.
On to Tevachim. Tevachim Yud Gimel. The hides of the offering of lesser holiness belong to the owners of the offering, while the hides of the most holy offerings belong to the Kohanim. This can be demonstrated by means of a kavakoma. If, in the case of an ola offering, in which they do not acquire the right to its meat, yet they acquire a right to its hide, then in the case of the most holy offerings, in which they do acquire the right to its meat, does it not follow they acquire the right to its hide? The altar cannot serve as a refused reputation, since it does not receive the hide at all. All offerings which are invalidated, all offerings which are invalidated prior to their being flayed, their hides do not belong to the Kohanim after they were flayed. The hides belong to the Kohanim.
After they were flayed, then the hides belong to the Kohanim. Yeah.
Said Rabbi Kanina, the administrator of Kohanim, in all my days I never saw a hide being taken out to the place of burning. Rabbi Akiva said, from his words we learned that one who slays a bachor and is then found to be treifa, the Kohanim may benefit from its hide. But the comments say we have not seen is a good proof. Rather, it is taken out to the place of burning. The bulls that are burned, and the he-goats that are burned, when they are burned according to the proper procedure, they are burned in the place of ashes and they contaminated your garments with tumor. But when they are not burned according to the proper procedure, they are burned in the place in the palace precinct, and they do not contaminate gardens with tumor.
Okay.
We have Baba. Is it inadvisable to clash with a deaf mute, a mentally deranged person, or a minor? If one wounds them, he is liable, but if they would wound others, they are exempt. It is inadvisable to clash with a slave or with a woman. If one wounds them, he is liable, but if they would wound others, they are exempt, although they must pay later. Should the woman become divorced or the slave free, they are obligated to pay. If one strikes his father or his mother and inflicts a wound upon them, or if one wounds another on Shabbos, he is exempt from all of them because he is liable for his life. If one wounds his own Gentile slave, he is exempt from all of them. If one cuffs another, he must give him a selah. Rabbi Yehuda says in the case of Rabbi Yossi, the Galilean Amana. If he slaps him, he must give him 200 zuz. With the back of his hand, he must give him 400 zuz. If he pulls his ear, tears his hair, spits at him, and the spittle reaches him, removes his cloak, and uncovers a woman's hair in the street, he must pay 400 zuz. This is the general rule. It all depends on the covered. Let's change something here. It says it all depends on his weight. That's covered. Since Rebbe Kiva, even the poorest of Jews are looked upon as if they were sons of noblemen who lost their wealth, for they are the children of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. There was an incident of one who uncovered a woman's hair in the street. She came before Rebbe Kiva, who sentenced him to give her 400 zuz, and he said to him, Rabbi, give me time, and he gave him time. He waited for her until he saw her standing at the entrance of her courtyard, and then broke a jug which contained oil worth an issur in her presence. She uncovered her hair and was scooping it up and placing it on her hand on her head. He set up witnesses against her and came before Akiva and said, Rabbi, to this one I should give 400 zuz. Said to him, you have nothing, because if one wounds himself, although he may not, he is exempt. Yet if others wound him, he is liable. And if one cuts off his own shoots, although he may not, he is exempt. And yet if others cut off his shoots, they are liable.
Okay.
Erevin. If a large roof is adjacent to a small one, the large one is permitted, but the small one is prohibited. If a large courtyard was breached into a small one, the large one is permitted, but the small one is prohibited because it is like the entrance of the large one. If a courtyard was breached into a public domain, one who brings from there into a private domain or from a private domain into it is liable. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, and the Kakaman say, from it into the public domain, from the public domain into it, he is not liable because it is like the Carmelis. If a courtyard was breached into a public domain on 2 other sides, or if a house was breached on 2 of its sides, or an alley whose crossbeams or poles were removed, they're permitted on that Sabbath, but prohibited in the future. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says that if they're permitted on that Sabbath, they're permitted in the future, and if they're prohibited in the future, they're prohibited in the Sabbath. A secondary story built upon 2 houses or bridges under which a road passes, one may carry beneath them on the Sabbath. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda, but the sages prohibit. Rabbi Yehuda also said that we may make an error for an open alley, but it could come and prohibit.
Okay. And finally, Nido.
If a woman aborts a tumtum or an adjutant, she observes the periods of Tuma and Tahara for a male and female. If she aborts either a tumtum and a male, or an adjutant and a male, she observed the periods of Tuma and Tahara for a male and a female. However, if a woman aborted either a tumtum and a female, or an adjutant and a female, she need only observe the periods of Tuma and Tahara for a female child. If the fetus emerges dismembered or inverted, when a majority of it emerges, it's considered born. If the fetus emerges in the usual manner, it's considered born. When a majority of its head emerges, it was considered most of its head when its forehead comes out. If a woman aborts something that is not known what it is, she observes the periods of Tuma and Tahara for a male and female. However, if it is not known whether it was a child or not, she must observe the Tuma laws of a male, a female, and a nida. A woman who miscarried on the 40th day need not be concerned for a child. If she miscarried on the 41st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male, a female, and a nida. But Ishmael says if she miscarried on the 41st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male and a nida. And if she miscarried on the 81st day, she must observe the Tuma laws for a male, female, and a nida. For a male embryo was accompanied by the 41st day, and a female embryo completed by the 81st day. For the common say concerning both the creation of a male embryo and the creation of a male embryo, this one and that one require 49 days. 41 days.
Okay.